Hello anime comrades. This is the second part of the retelling. If you haven't seen the first, you can watch it by following the hint in the upper right corner or by following the link in the description. Before we start, I want to ask you to subscribe to the channel. It is not difficult for you, and I am pleased. Kazuki picks Miri up from the daycare center, and a strong gust of wind blows Miri's umbrella away. She runs to get her umbrella on the road, but Kazuki stops her. And trucker Koen Ice-Sky umbrella, now he's in a fantasy world defeating the Lord of Darkness. Watch this season about my rebirth from umbrella to hero. When she comes home, she throws wet things around the house. Kazuki gets on edge about this. Laundry, cleaning, cooking and everything else is on him. Miri doesn't listen, Rei doesn't help, and when they get finicky about the food Kazuki has cooked with his heart, he can't stand it and leaves them alone for a while. In the morning, Miri wakes up Rei because she is hungry, and after eating breakfast cereal she says that they are already late for kindergarten. Rei rushes to daycare, only daycare is not open on weekends and he has been busting his ass for nothing. The next day Rei wakes up and feels Miri's fever. He wants to give her pills, but doesn't know if she can have them. He decides to take her to the hospital, but he doesn't know where she is either. So he comes up with nothing better to do than run to the bartender for help. What had Kazuki been doing all this time? He went back to the casino and started gambling, because he hadn't been here since Miri was taken in. After winning a lot of money, he celebrates with the girls, celebrating well, and goes to hang out on the street. And he gets into a fight. When he was engaged in self-injury, his sister-in-law spoke to him, but he immediately tried to avoid the conversation and left. She yells after him, doesn't want to talk to her, and keeps sending him money, but she doesn't want it. She just wants to talk to him. But he feels guilty because he thinks he is responsible for the death of his beloved. He was chasing his target when he was doing his job and his beloved saw him at work. Apparently out of shock, she didn't notice the burning car next to her and there was an explosion. The sister says it's been 5 years and it's time to move on. She would love it if they lived their lives to the fullest. She also says that she found out from the bartender that he took in a little girl relative. He must be happy with her. But he says it's a headache and no thanks in return. She says she's sure he can make this girl happy. As if Kazuki had an epiphany, he decided to return home. On his return, the apartment was a complete mess, but he wasn't surprised. Finding Miri with Rei, he saw that he wasn't completely hopeless and took care of Miri, who was sick. After that, Rei and Miri became more respectful of Kazuki's work, even trying to make toast for him. The key word is try. Father summons Rei, he is the head of the criminal organization they work for. His father says he's had enough rest and it's time for him to go back and learn how to run the organization, because that's the only reason he was raised. Rei asks for time to sort things out. His father gives him the task of eliminating the traitor, which turns out to be Rei's mentor. He is accompanied by a thug who is sick in the head. He says he has already eliminated the target girl and has learned the whereabouts of Rei's mentor. He says he has a little hobby of collecting the dying words of his victims, and asks Rei to say his mentor's dying words. Rei approaches his mentor and it becomes clear to him that he will never get his girlfriend. He decides to take revenge by killing Rei, whether his father will grieve for him, though it is unlikely. During the shootout, they climb to the roof, where the mentor knocks Rei down. Rei asks why he betrayed them, and he answers that he had something in his life that he wanted to protect. He doesn't understand. But Rei understood him perfectly. Eventually, the mentor falls off the roof. Mission accomplished, the sick man asks for Rei's last words, but he doesn't tell him. He stays on the pier to think about life, but then Kazuki arrives. Rei is surprised how he found him, and Kazuki says, "Have you forgotten who set up your phone?" Back home, it turns out that Kazuki and Miri had prepared a surprise birthday party for him. Rei liked it very much, and even smiled, which is rare for him. At the kindergarten, Miri has a competition coming up, and she's training for this event to take the gold medal. Kazuki praises Miri and encourages her in every way, but Rei doesn't know how to support her and starts loading her up with theory and terms. Kazuki is cooking a meal to eat at a competition. Rei wants to help him. He's very surprised that he doesn't happen to be sick with him. What would he want to help cook too? Kazuki assigns him a dish that is hard to ruin. It's onigiri cooking. Here came the sports festival. Various competitions were going on, with Kazuki cheering Miri on at the top of his lungs. It was time for lunch. Everyone was excited about Kazuki's cooking. Miri notices the onigiri from Rei and decides to try it. and the filling turned out to be peculiar. He stuffed chocolate rings, jam and marmalade in it. But the kids loved it. It was time for the run Mary had been preparing for. Ray was worried that he couldn't support her properly, and for once, quiet Ray started screaming. Mary was very surprised by this, but she was distracted and fell down because of it. Finishing last, Ray worried that it was all his fault. After the race, there was a competition with the parents. Kazuki went with Mary because Ray was worried that he would mess it up again. During the race with her parents, Mary pulls out a piece of paper with a task to bring what it says. So she runs to Ray and tells him to run with her. Ray, paired with Kazuki, picks up Mary and finishes first. And when asked what the task on the piece of paper was, Mary revealed that it was family. That's how the sports festival ended. One day, while picking up Mary from daycare, her mother was standing at the entrance. When asked what she was doing here, she said that she had come to pick up her daughter. Kazuki is indignant, kicking the girl out, and now she wants to play mother. To which she replies that as a mother she has every right to live with her daughter. And then Mary notices her and happily runs to her mother. There was no way out, so they had to go home with her. After spending the evening together and putting Mary to bed, they got down to business. She says she has throat cancer and can't sing because she was fired and her boyfriend dumped her. And she's decided to live for her daughter now. Kazuki says he won't let her indulge her ego at Mary's expense. She thanks them for sheltering Mary, but she knows they have a dangerous job and as a mother she cannot put her daughter in danger. She leaves them to reflect on this. Sitting at the bar, they're indignant. She just drops in like a snowball, and she knows everything from somewhere. The bartender says he told her everything. They are indignant as to why he did it, and the bartender shows them a picture from a sports festival. The bartender says that the girl has become a problem because of her they began to fail tasks. So this is a warning, and if this continues, it won't end there. Ray and Kazuki decide to spend their last day with Miri. They go out and have fun all day, and in the evening they make an appointment with Miri's mother to give the girl to her. After that their life became gray and dreary. As they discuss their plans for the future, Ray says he will return to his father's place. Kazuki says he will move to another apartment because this one is too big for him alone. At this point, the boys part ways. Ray returns to his father and reports that he is back and ready to continue training in the family business. His father says that there is only one minor detail to be ironed out before the training can begin. He has shackled himself with unnecessary ties from which he will free him. Ray begs for mercy for Miri, and he will do whatever it takes, but his father remains deaf to his pleas. After talking to his father, he calls Kazuki and tells him that Miri is in danger. Kazuki rushes to Miri's mother's house, but unfortunately he didn't make it in time. The same sick man had already broken into the apartment and wanted to hear Miri's mother's last words. Here Kazuki bursts in. He is inferior in skill to this sick man, and he just scares him off by calling the police a long time ago. Miri's mother was seriously injured and did not survive it. Before she died she asked to protect Miri. After picking up Miri while she slept, they took refuge in the bartender's hideout. The liaison says he knew the organization was targeting Miri, but he thought that by separating them, then the boss wouldn't touch her. But he was wrong. Now they have to decide what to do next. The next morning Miri wakes up Ray. After breakfast, they take Miri to kindergarten. The teacher asks if she and mother are coming to the matinee together. But they reply that it's just the two of them, mother is away. Miri was upset by this, but the guys encouraged her and said that they would definitely come to the matinee. They even swore on pinkies, and as everyone knows an oath on pinkies is indestructible. Now it was time to have a word with Ray's father. As they drove up to the mansion, their weapons were taken from them. Except they miscalculated. Ray is like a weapon himself. Disarming the guards, they dashed through a hail of bullets and straight for the mansion. It was no problem to deal with the guards, except that there was also this sick-headed thug. First Kazuki ran into him, and then Ray came to the rescue. During the shootout, Ray says he came to talk, not to kill his father. But the sick man is not interested in words, except those spoken before he dies. It was impossible to come to an agreement in general. In the end, together they managed to cope with this sick man. It was time to talk to his father. Father was all stubborn and wanted Ray to follow in his footsteps and stop playing the family game. But what was a game to him was life to Ray. If the assassin's hands prevent him from living that way, then he doesn't need those hands. During the course of the conversation, Ray still managed to convince his daddy to let them go. They could barely make it to Miri's matinee, which made her very happy. They wouldn't be able to miss it, for they had sworn on pinkies. Having given up on crime, they opened a cafe. And so 10 years went by. Miri is already a senior in high school and they lived happily ever after, a happy ending. This was the Anime Daddy Buddies. If you liked the video, you have to like it, comment, and don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.